Ryan, welcome to the show.
Tony, glad to be here, man.
Absolutely, man. We're looking forward to having you on the podcast. Can't wait to dive into it. So, with that said, why don't you kick us off with a one word open? Tell us that one word right now, Ryan, that's
Hustle,
on top of
hustle,
mind. Hustle?
hustle. That's where I am today.
Let's
Yep.
do it. Let's do it. All right. Tell me about your business. Tell me what you do, who you help, how you help them, and who's Ryan essentially.
All right. Sounds good. My name is Ryan O'Donnell. I'm co-founder and CEO of Replyify.com and Sellhack.com. I run two different platforms. Software as a service built for B2B sales professionals. We help automate a lot of the kind of tedious tasks that salespeople do when they're prospecting and trying to generate new business and meetings. Who I am, I got my start on Wall Street back in 2003, graduated from college. Wife had a job in New York, so I moved out there. Got a job, boiler room on Wall Street, and got my 67 and Series 7, and I was every day I was selling, cold calling and trying to open accounts. And, about a year and a half into it, finance just wasn't for me. It was if I wanted to stay in New York, but wife and I are from Cleveland, from the Midwest. We always wanted to kind of go home. So I got into tech, got into the internet. This was, I think, my first day on the job. Google had IPO'd. So like we're talking really early, and I knew that like tech and the internet was the future. And so I left kind of the finance job and cut my teeth as an account manager at a startup, and then just worked my way up to eventually got recruited to a company called Right Media that sold a couple of years later to Yahoo, and had a chance to kind of build a team at Yahoo. I was 28 years old, kind of flying the globe, opening offices, setting up sales teams. And long story short, had a kid in 2012, left Yahoo and on my first startup. That one failed. A couple iterations later, and had a couple successes ever since. So that's me now.
Awesome, man. Let's dive deeper into your business and how you help people now. Tell us exactly what you do, and if you can keep it high level, or if you want to get detail as possible. So our listeners listening to, okay, this is how he helps people. I'm B2B, they're listening and they want to know how you can help them and all that good stuff. So tell us how you help and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it all started, solving a personal challenge, and that was, with the first startup that after Yahoo that didn't go the right direction. We closed the company down and doing a post-mortem on everything and thinking about what was next. And when I say we, I mean my partner Marco. He's my partner in crime, full stack developer. We do everything together. So we're sitting around, and I said, look, where I had problems with this company in terms of generating new business was, it just took too darn long to go out and copy and paste. I'd find prospects and then I'd have to guess their email addresses. And I said, it'd be really cool if we could, kind of automate what I'm doing on these 5 different websites and do it. He's like, yeah, we can do that. So he built it. We launched and Sellhack has been around since 2014. Couple of years later, I said, great, we're getting, we're helping salespeople, find valid corporate email addresses for their prospects. I said, what's the next step in the equation, right? They get the emails and then they're going off and doing, who knows what, right? And hopefully they're not sending these emails one by one. MailChimp won't let them send the email. So I said, let's build a system that is going to kind of automate what a salesperson would do normally, and automate it in a way that's not spammy. So we have like very strict checks and that to make sure that our second platform, which is Replyify.com, that's our cold email platform. So that's what a salesperson like myself, we have business coaches. There's a professional cuddler in Australia who's a client just on one extreme, all the way to, we had 2 recent banks who came online and their sales teams. So we see the full gambit from, startup coach or whatever to like, corporate bank, financial institution, who are looking at the tech that we've built and acknowledging the fact that, hey, it's a waste of time to do things the old school way. having your reps reach out one by one, hoping they remember to follow up when someone doesn't get back to them. And we just built the automated system that does that, right? So, we steer clear of the spam landscape. Like, these are things that a seller or a prospector, someone who needs to get a meeting set up with anyone else, would use our tech to facilitate that, right? And they would do it over a number of touches or reach out points, whether it's SMS, social selling connection, a phone call, or an email. They're setting up a sequence and a cadence with us, and then we're automating what can be automated, so they don't have to type out every single email, and they're staying on top of their top of the funnel sales activities in a more efficient manner, all the while communicating back to their CRM, which doesn't have these native tools built in the way that we have them built, right? We're not a CRM. I'm not going after Salesforce, right? But I sure know that we do email better than what Salesforce does. That's why most of our clients use something like Salesforce, even though Salesforce does have some email functionality, right? So we're very laser focused. It's a targeted solution to help get more meetings built or booked in less of amount of time.
That's really great. And this kind of opens up a lot for me. I wanted to ask you. So I've been in these conversations where the approach of like Rapify comes up, and in the meeting, upper leadership will shut it down. And then we have the, executive session, or you're meeting with the board, you're trying to explain to them, like, this is not spamming because of, these checkpoints, or this is the workflow, or, this is where we got the data from. Because it's over their head, they just decline it, right? So what's your opinion about that? If someone wants to use Replyify and they're getting some resistance with upper leadership or even their board saying, hey, this is not compliant, we don't want to spam people. How do you overcome that? So whoever's listening right now could have that solid takeaway to kind of pitch your product to their board or to their upper leadership.
For sure. And keep me on track here in case I've got a tendency to go too deep. There are two bottlenecks that could come up. The more common than not at the onset is going to be the from the tech team, right? So your IT team or your tech team says, no, we don't want to do this. And the primary reason for that is the tech team is responsible for, the IT team is responsible for making sure that the email infrastructure is solid, right? And you're not doing damage to your primary domain and that. So like there's two components to that, an A and a B, right? So IT objection A, the rebuttal is, look, these are emails that the sales team would be sending anyways, right?
Right.
And by working with a company like Replyify, those emails are gonna be examined and evaluated and flagged if they are spammy, right? And using spam trigger words or selling in it, and because you can't sell in the email unless you mark it as commercial, right? So there are certain things where, like, on the IT side, we prevent spam. We don't want spam as much as, like, you don't want to be labeled a spammer. So we as a platform do our part. From the IT perspective, though, if you're worried about doing damage to your primary domain, like, it doesn't really happen unless you go from 0 to 100. And I'm talking like 0 salespeople to 100 salespeople, and then they start maxing out their sending volume, sending 500 emails a day. We have software and tech that helps to warm up email accounts, and not just new email accounts, but it helps to kind of prime an existing email account to help get it ready for sending at greater scale, right? And keeping that relationship with the mail server healthy. The objection rebuttal B to the IT team, if they're still like, no, we've been in business for 13 years. We're not going to let this new VP of sales that we just hired come in and put our domain at risk. Then I would say, great, just set up a new email infrastructure, right? Very simple. And it works really well when we get like a good marketer to speak with, right? And someone who I can have a real conversation with and say, do you have an alternative domain that you guys own in your portfolio? And they're always like, yes, we have like 20. Say, great. How many of those domains do you have set up? Where there's a website on it or something? And 10% of people will have something, most don't. And the ones that do tend to have landing pages, right? Landing pages for their ads, landing pages for their experiments and their growth tests and things like that they're doing. And we say, great, you either have that or you need to get it, okay? And once you've identified what that domain is, then I need you to go set up a new email infrastructure, right? Which sounds a heck of a lot more complicated than it actually is. You're just, you're doing it on GoDaddy or Google or Microsoft. You're just creating a new, you're setting up a new email address, right? So Replyify, so we send emails from getreplyify.com and coldemail.io, but our primary email is replyify.com. So that's the IT objection. On the business side, as long as you hit the IT objections, the A and the B, in terms of like, we're going to do this in the right way. And if you're that concerned about it, IT is going to either suggest and support or concur that you don't need a separate email infrastructure. And that usually gets us to a point where we pass the business approval, because what we're really doing is offsetting the risk, right? We're protecting the brand and the website that you've had around for years. We're doing risk mitigation by setting up this alternative email domain and website domain. And then we're actually telling our clients, look, now that you have this new website set up, like, don't just have a naked site that redirects, like, do something interesting, put a landing page on it, right? Like, come up with something creative, and like, checking off both of those boxes, that if we can get to that second meeting, if it doesn't get like shut down before, then we're typically in go zone from there.
Awesome. And do you prefer G Suite over Outlook, or do you have a preference over the two?
G Suite and Outlook, I have no preference, right? I would say don't change what you're used to.
Okay.
So if you're a G Suite shop, do that. So whatever methods have OAuth, right, where you can connect your Office 365 account or your G Suite account with one click, and you don't have to put passwords in, even though they are, it's encrypted, and that, like, anytime you can connect through OAuth, it's safest and best for everyone, right? And then we do our independent third-party security audit and assessment through Google every year. Google requires that we go through this intensive third-party penetration testing, just to make sure that when we have access to someone's inbox, that it's being handled with kid gloves and it's up to their standards and all that. So the tech infrastructure is solid. We like those two platforms best, right? Versus a homegrown one or something that you bought from your maybe third tier domain host.
Got it. So it's safe to say your system works with both.
It works with everything, as long as you have an SMTP and an IMAP connection set up, which you'd be surprised in 2022, I'd say most people do. There's still folks who have, a POP email set up from wherever. It's not a difficult change, but again, these are things that, we go the extra mile with our clients. And Inc.com did an article on us in the December issue, print and online, just talking about RMO, which is if we're not a good fit, like we will tell our prospects that, like, if we're not a good fit for you, we'll acknowledge it up front, and we'll say, hey, look, you might be a better fit using this, this or that other software or competitor, for example. And that's a fit both infrastructure wise, people wise, and then when it goes back to like the spamminess of what you're doing, if it's too much on that gray line, we'd rather not have your business. That allows us to spend more time with our existing clients, helping them think through and work through these and have these kind of conversations. Like, you and I could be having this conversation at an executive level right now, and you're not dealing with someone who's on their second job since graduating from college. Like, we're having a deep conversation about something, working through it, and the ability to do that is made possible by us being very particular with who we actually work with at our companies, right? For better or worse. That's just that's how we've designed our approach to sales.
I love it. Let's go up to 30,000 feet. So can you share with us like some stories, maybe your personal stories or your clients' stories that they're able to use your platform to obtain and secure a life-changing client? So I mean, we in sales, that's what we live for. We're motivated by, possibility. We're out there, like your one word open, hustling. We hustle. Sometimes they call that a bad word now in 2022, but I don't care. So we're out there, and the opportunity and the possibility we're chasing is that, hey, that next phone call, that next email, the next intro, the next handshake, the next person you meet at an expo could be a life-changing client. So share with us some success stories, maybe one or two.
Yeah, we get so. I mean, you got to put yourself in my, flip the shoes for a second, right? You're in my shoes, right? And I'm having success with your software, and maybe I just landed a huge client, maybe Salesforce as a client. Like I'm not, our relationship, I'm not necessarily coming back and telling you, hey, I just landed Salesforce. Like we know that it happens. I don't have anything to like go in and say, oh, it was this or it was that. I think what we see more often than not, and what 30,000 feet, what signals to us that these things are happening. It's more about it's more like, hey, I'm so glad we found you guys. Before you, we used to do X, Y, and Z, right? And my team now has, like, each rep has an extra 8 hours, 10 hours a day each week, right? They have an extra 8 to 10 hours a week freed up because they're not digging through their inbox, right? And trying to do all of this stuff. So, and then we also look at churn in that, and clients who are churning out or canceling on a month to month or quarterly or annual. And the longer someone stays through, like, we use that as a proxy for, like, it's actually working, right? We're getting the feedback from the execs and from the reps that, like, hey, this is like game changing. They're closing more deals. They don't give us like the logos who they're working with. Maybe we should start asking. That's a good point when I re-listen to this. But it's more hearing from the exec or even the person on the who's doing the day-to-day, how much time that they're saving. And then the one other, just to ride off of that, the other really successful thing that we see happen as we go through this is, we see people, consultants or one-off people who might have been doing sales for someone else or doing some kind of prospecting or lead gen for someone. We see them go in and actually create an agency, right? Around this, doing like done for you services. Or we see agencies who come to us, maybe they're traditional like SEO or digital agencies, and we help them architect a new product line and offering, right? A done for you B2B prospecting built on our back, right? And Digital Kryptonite was a good example of that. John Whiting over there, started, he had this awesome agency. He added, kind of done for you cold emailing and prospecting, ended up selling his agency for 7 to 8 figures. I mean, so it's happening. The other part is, like, when it's really working, you don't always hear these people talking about it, right? It's the same with like SEO and advertising and that. Like, when you find a pocket of something that's working, most often or not, it's going to be temporary, and you're not running out telling everyone, or it's quick to end. So it's like we're in kind of a, like, that's the position that we're in. We enable it. We'd love to say more and talk about more. But that's we see success on a daily basis. It's really rewarding.
That makes a lot of sense. What you said really resonated with me too, because you see out here in society, like, when something's working, people don't say anything, but they're sure enough to tell 7 people about something going wrong, but they will never say anything when it's going well, right? But that's just the way we're trained and stuff like that. But no, I'm so happy to hear about the difference you're able to make, and how you're able to take, someone that was working for someone before and start their own agency. And also, like you said, you had a couple banks sign on with you. That's really exciting, because let's face it, because when you're doing outbound, as we know this, you could control and who you're prospecting, versus inbound. You could get, great, you got 100 leads today, but 98 of them are not a good fit. they want a free setup or, stuff like that. So that's really great. Let's shift gears over to thought leadership really quickly. I would love to hear your point of view on what a thought leader is to you.
Thought leadership. I did hear that. I was prepping for this and listening to a couple, and you asked about thought leadership, and I didn't put anything together. So let me think about that for a moment. I guess in our business, right? We don't have a large team, right? Our primary team is myself, and I handle everything on the business side, and Marco handles everything on the software side. And then we have people that we bring in as we need certain things to get done, right? And work projects, whether it's SEO or ad or technical or whatever, but we run a very, very lean team. Part of the reason for that is, a couple of years ago, I had a scary health prognosis and diagnosis and a bunch of just things that I had to work through. It was bad, right? And at that point I had 2 kids and wanted more. And I kind of looked at life and I was like, my primary focus is my family, right? Number one, right? That is it. And my co-founder had a similar kind of a similar life perspective of having a couple of younger children, and we wanted to make sure first and foremost in our lives that we were prioritizing our family first. We were home when our kids got off the bus. We were not commuting an hour back and forth each way and losing time. We were getting up with our kids at 6:30, seeing them on the bus, and we were starting work then. This was before working from home was even cool or a thing. This is what we decided to do. And it was, I'd get on a call like this and you'd look in the background and you'd be like, I'm in my home office. I've been here for 10 years.
That's awesome.
There was a time where it was like, whoa, you're not a substantial enough business because you haven't raised millions of dollars. We don't need to, we're profitable. Right.
Yeah.
We don't need an office. We don't need to have a team. We run a certain size business and we can grow it to a certain point with our infrastructure. So from a thought leadership perspective, I mean, there's prior to 2000, to 2020, that there wasn't a lot that I looked at for inspiration, because a lot of the thought leadership that was out there was along this one path, which was, you start a company, you raise your seed round from friends and family, and then you do your A, and then you and grow your team and this and that. And we approached it and said, no, we're going to go to revenue first. So that I don't have a great perspective from what I think about thought leadership. Just because I don't think about it that way. I think about it from the perspective of I want to be a thought leader, and I lead through example, and having calls like this where I'm able to show people that, hey, you don't have to be embarrassed working from home, or before this call you saw my daughter run up to my door. That's life. And if people realize that working and the amount of money that you make, well, that's not the proxy for success for everyone, right? It's finding the right balance. And I wish more people would highlight that and tell people that it's okay to leave work early to get to your kid's game, or it's okay to not work Fridays, right? And spend time with your family, or check out, oftentimes that means clocking in and clocking out at different hours of the day. But I see way too many people out there grinding on fatigue and burnout and not being able to get things done with the time that they have in the day. And I want to challenge that, man. I want to see the system. I would love to get to a system where we have a 4-day work week and a 3-day weekend. I've been living that for the last 6 years. It's changed my life. I will continue to do so and be an advocate for it. So I'd love for you to find a question. I know we're going a bit over on timer. That I'd love for you to ask people, your words. What are you feeling? I'd love for you to dig in and be like, tell me about your like, what does your schedule look like on a weekly basis? How many days a week do you work? Like, when do you check in or check out? Like, how is that? And I'd be curious to see how people do it, just to show others that, hey, even if you have a corporate job, if you're on the hustle, on a side hustle, like, you know, or if you're transitioning, or if you're just starting out, like, there are lots of different paths to success.
Yeah.
And it's not always what you read out there in your traditional kind of big media. There's a lot of people grinding it out and getting it done in some non sequitur ways. And however you do it, man, more power to you.
That's really awesome and super inspiring. I appreciate that. So with that said, if you want to take this opportunity to give out your website addresses and social handles, if someone's listening, they want to find out more information or check you out, you know, take this opportunity to give that out now.
Sure thing. So our socials are weak. We actually we don't tweet it, that we have some automated tweets and that set up from blog posts, but like, we're a small team. We're not in there like engaging on social. At Replyify, REPLYIFY at Replyify on Twitter, and at Cellhack, our Twitter handles. Obviously, we're on Facebook. Email is the best way to get at us. Team or Ryan at RYAN at Replyify, REPLYIFY.com is the best way to get me. Go to the website. That's where you'll see a link to sign up for a free course that we built, like a prospecting 7-day, you know, 1 email a day for 7 days, kind of end to end, how to set up your prospecting engine. You can get a free account. You can chat in real time with someone with me or someone on the support team. And that's the best way to get at us. And then, you know, what we tell all of our clients is like, you know, we're not going to do the work for you, right? So like, you come and you meet us in the middle, right? You sign up for an account, you say hi, let us give you an upgraded trial, you build your first campaign, then let us come in and review it and give you some feedback. So like that's who we like to work with. Like, that's our perfect client. So if that's you, if you're out there and you're, you know, you're stuck, or you feel like there's got to be a better way to do something, that you need more meetings, it's replyify.com, REPLYIFY.com. You can chat with us right there, and we will, you know, we'll hear you out. We'll kind of diagnose where you're at, and then we'll point you in the right direction. Sometimes it's with us, sometimes it's not, but we'll at least kind of help get you to a place where like you're humming on autopilot. You're getting to, you know, you're considering working 4 days a week and spending more time with your family, and also seeing your income go up and your quality of life go up. Like that for me is the holy grail.
That's really awesome. Thank you so much for making that available for everyone. Here we are at the end, sadly. Tell us your one-word close and why you're choosing to sign off on this word, Ryan.
Curious. I'm curious to see who listens to this and then takes me up on my offer.
Love it. Awesome. Hey, thank you very much for this meaningful
Thanks, Tony.
conversation, Ryan.
Appreciate it. Thank you.